So, Kevin, we talk about compliance, and I think in an African context, it's very complex, right? We've got the FATF in terms of grey listing. Fortunately, I think South Africa is kind of on the road out of that, which is amazing. But we have other countries that are now on that sort of grey list. We have ever changing regulation. We have 53, 54, depending who you're asking, different regulators, different regulations. Very difficult from a fintech or from a banking perspective, or any of your clients to kind of stay up to or keep up to speed with the ever-evolving changes in so many different jurisdictions. So where does Vodacom Business come into that? What sort of support do you give to your customers in terms of staying compliant?
Yeah, so that's actually a very good question, and it's actually linked to the previous discussion around trust, right?
Yeah.
So compliance in our world isn't an afterthought. It's something that is engineered into every layer of our ecosystem and our technologies, which lets teams, which lets risk teams and product teams move together and work together across the entire value chain. What does that mean for fintechs? It means that number one, you're working with a trusted technology provider or partner that has decades of experience complying with local regulations and multiple regulations across both technology and in the financial services space. As as most of you are well aware, M-Pesa, which is our largest fintech, I would say largest fintech in Africa, is something that is pretty much controlled and managed by us from a compliance perspective. We've managed to keep outside of we've managed to keep in line with the regulations in the markets where we operate in, and we've managed to maintain trust customers and trusted partners because of the platforms that we actually have and deliver services through. In addition to that, in South Africa, as you can imagine, we also have Vodacom Financial Services, which is also another fintech platform that scales quite significantly and provides quite a significant amount of quite significant number of services to millions of customers in South Africa as well. And this can only be done if you're definitely compliant with the local regulations and, of course, compliant from a technology perspective, or the technology that you use is also very compliant. So how do we support the fintech ecosystems? Not just by showing them the credibility that we have playing in the same space, which is a fintech space, but also with the number of partners that we've actually managed to bring on board, the customers that we've managed to support over the years, the fact that compliance isn't an afterthought, but engineered in every layer of our ecosystems. And most importantly, the fact that we have a global team, not just in South Africa, but also across the continent and across the globe through our mothership, Vodafone, that is very much embedded in the multiple markets, the multiple geographies, the nuances that come with compliance and risk, and factoring that in a financial services ecosystem. So we have a lot more to give to our partners in the fintech space, whether big or small, that will definitely help them to remain compliant in this very, very complex environment, like you mentioned earlier, Darren.
Yeah, and perhaps from your perspective as well, payment-wise and the regulations and rules around sort of payments, especially when we're dealing cross-border with XCon and things like that, it's very complex. How do you build product for something that's changing, right? Because it seems like literally the target is moving, and you're kind of trying to build a product that is going to be sort of fit for purpose, but you don't know necessarily what that's going to be. How do you go around sort of building something like that?
I think Kevin touched on it quite nicely. It's like ensure that it's compliance by design. So no product, and by definition, digital product is static in its nature. We understand, for example, customer needs are changing, the industry is changing. So regulation is just a part of the thing that you have to take into consideration in how you design your system and solutions, such that when regulation change, because it's going to change, it's not a question of if, it's a when. So you just have to be prepared from a system, process, and architecture perspective to be able to absorb that without affecting the customer. In fact, we must look at those changes as ways to enable the customer experience. So how do you surface key aspects of a transaction? You brought up XCon. How do you make it easy for the customer to comply, understand, as well as know why the regulation is in place? Because primarily this is about protecting the consumer. So we look at it as it's an enabler. It's not necessarily an inhibitor for us. Compliance is by definition at every stage of the design process. So we understand it all the way down from first eliciting requirements from customer, understanding why the regulator is putting into effect those regulations, and then ensuring that we educate our customers through intuitive user interfaces, whether it's guides, whether it's training, or whether it's part of the journey on the particular application. We make sure we bring those artifacts to bear, because these are all enablers, not necessarily inhibitors. And once you adopt that mindset, you really find that it filters through all the product processes and designs and the solutions that we deploy.
It's complex, huh? Yeah, you're not going to be building that with agentic AI. And it seems like there's quite a bit of process that goes in behind that. And I know the group has lots of partnerships, Kevin, as you mentioned, but there's one that I haven't mentioned, which I should have done earlier on, which is Adara, because they're playing a key part in the African FinTech Festival as well. Let's give them a mention in terms of where they fit into the ecosystem, where they fit into this world of kind of Vodacom business and payments and cloud and on-prem and off-prem and that whole kind of picture there. So Kevin, where do those guys sit in?
Yeah, so one of the benefits of working with a company like Vodacom is that you get that multi-cloud flavor or offering. Whether you want to be hosted in a hyperscale environment, whether you want to be hosted in a local data center, whether the one that you manage or we host on your behalf, is something that we're really proud of. It's something that we have built the capacity and capability to do over the years. So one of the partners that we've actually worked with to launch the financial services cloud, or I would say the fintech cloud, across Africa is a company called Adara Cloud. So they've built something quite amazing, which enables us to provide deep AI capabilities to the smallest of fintechs with fully compliant requirements. Like, for example, I mentioned earlier that this is something that we term a sovereign AI cloud, which means that your data, you have full control of your data in the market that you reside in, and we can deploy that cloud instance in that market that you reside in a matter of weeks. So that is something that we have, we're really proud of, and we're really, very, very aggressive about to really support the fintech and across the continent to thrive as much as possible. So one of the things that, the reason I'm saying that we have this capability to drive multi-cloud deployments or support multi-cloud environments, that really the fintech ecosystem needs to scale, can actually be seen in one of the recent announcements that one of our companies has actually done as well, which is Vodacom. Moving from about 4,800 transactions to 6,000 or up to 12,000 transactions per second through the most recent upgrade that they did over the last couple of days. So this is something that we live and breathe. These are numbers that are kind of like unheard of at a global scale. And we're doing them in Africa, we're doing them in our markets. We have the experience to do this. And we really want to take this to the fintech ecosystem to show them how much more they can do in this system that we built, that we brought to the table.
Just on that point, and you mentioned it a few minutes ago about sort of servicing and kind of question for both of you, really. You mentioned about servicing different segments of the market. So whether it be an enterprise, bank or what have you, or whether it be an earlier stage fintech or one that hasn't necessarily got that sort of volume. I think you speak to the majority of fintech, certainly in the world of payments, and you can do 12,000 transactions in a second. They're going to bite your hand off, but go, listen, we're kind of not really there yet. How do you scale your offerings to different types of customers? Because it's very different, right? What we would call a traditional fintech. I can't believe that's such a term now, but it is. What a traditional fintech typically would need from a service provider versus what an enterprise payments company who are doing, M-Pesa type volumes, are kind of looking for completely different ends of the spectrum. So how do you balance those, and what do you offer?
Yeah. So maybe I'll give it a try, and then Tabs, I'll hand over to you as well. So if you think about it from a telco perspective, we've actually been known to serve the segment of one, right? So we play the masses game, but we play the masses game very, very well in terms of understanding the needs of even a single consumer. And now take that to the enterprise space. We've actually managed to serve customers across multiple segments, whether you're a very small SME, a micro SME, or a very large multinational corporate. We've built the capability to actually support you in all those segments. And if you think about it, what is really required is a very core platform, which we've built over the years, and we have the capacity of doing that from a connectivity perspective. We have one of the most, the largest, most trusted networks, most secure networks as well across the globe, not just in South Africa or the continent. And in addition to that, we've also built quite a massive capability around data in data centers as well. And the fact that we've also partnered with a lot of hyperscalers, including Zadara Cloud, just shows you how much we can actually deliver to clients, big or small. Now, take that back to your question in terms of how are we able to service, the largest and the smallest alike. It's because of that capability that we've built that makes sure that our cost to serve, or maybe not, let me not say cost to serve from a financial only perspective, but also from an effort perspective, we've built a lot of intelligence, a lot of automation, a lot of analytics into the ecosystem to enable us to do this very, very smartly and at scale. So something that traditional players, whether be it in the traditional financial services space or even the traditional technology space, are not really able to do, but we are able to do that very, very well. And some of the offers that we'll be bringing over the next couple of days or weeks in the lead up to the event, we'll also bring this to life quite nicely, because we're thinking of bringing, a try and buy kind of model for the financial services cloud. So if you want very advanced AI features as a very small startup, probably in a garage somewhere, we can definitely do that for you. You try it out and you only pay for what you use. So this is something that we are very, very keen to bring to the market and show how possible it is for you as a very small company or a very small fintech to compete at the same level as the largest banks in the world, for example.
Well, Kevin, I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive on the product. I think we'll do that kind of in the next episode. Because I kind of, as anyone that's been watching this knows, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to payments and AI, and I'd love to see kind of where that fits in. I was reading something the other day about agentic payments. Going, I don't know if I get that. Not sure I want my browser making payments for me. Anyway, that's that. I'm digressing. I promised I wouldn't. Taps, if I can kind of come back to you, the payments ecosystem is evolving, right? At the pace of knots. It's so difficult to keep up with the different payment methods that are now available. You go to a supermarket here in South Africa and you get to the till and there's 20, 25 different options of what to pay, right? Whether it be kind of, card, whether it be closed loop networks, whether it be loyalty, whether it be Bitcoin, all right? There's all these loads of different sort of mechanisms. How does that work from an integrations perspective? Because there are new rails. We've got PayShap here in South Africa, obviously. You've got M-Pesa in Kenya. You've got other mobile money service operators in other countries. How do you go about integrating with these new, or not necessarily new, but these different methods of payments? Again, you mentioned kind of building compliance first, but I guess you probably need to build kind of API first as well, so you're able to connect in with all these different sort of offerings. How does that work in the real world?
I think the magic is in the switching layer. So ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, what we want to be is at a point where value exchange is about to happen. A customer will show up with, I require some goods, and I've got this particular store of value to facilitate that value exchange. What you want as a orchestrator is the ability to offer as many value exchange methods as possible, such that whenever a merchant and a customer are interacting, from the plethora of options, there will be one that is unique to that particular pairing of merchant and customer. The complexity of managing the plethora, if you will, then falls on us as orchestrators. So from a how perspective, we ensure that in terms of the capability that we embed within our ecosystem allows us to, one, manage and surface that management to the players that we're offering this capability, whether it's a bank, whether it's a fintech. We provide those services. It could be a switch. To your earlier point, yes, it's definitely an API world, and we make sure that API is API ready. I think is the key consideration for us, so that, one, depending on how the customer, as in a customer for XLink or customer for Vodacom Business, is intending to surface that value offering, they can either be given a full end-to-end solution, or they can surface the API so that they can embed that capability within their own customer-facing layers. So we then, in the background, make sure that the money needs to get where it needs to go to, and settled in the manner in which it still provides that visibility, that trust that we spoke of, and is compliant with the regulations across the regulators in the jurisdictions that we operate.
Well, guys, I'm very much looking forward to kind of the product dive. Loads of questions, but I did promise you that I wouldn't go too deep today. I would like to finish with a couple of things, though. First of all, Kevin, from your perspective, you've been a tremendous advocate for the FinTech Festival that's happening, as I said, in November, and for the South African FinTech Awards. I want to ask you why, but that doesn't really mean it like that. Like, why? Why would you do that? But I suppose, what was the thought behind that? Because you guys jumped on pretty early. We've been having conversations for a long time. There's a huge amount of planning that's kind of going into this. What made it so sort of a must-be event for Vodacom Business Services?
Yep. So from a personal perspective, I'm really passionate about seeing financial inclusion, almost 100% financial inclusion coming to life within my lifetime. So that's something that's a personal goal that I have. And from an opportunity point of view, I've actually seen the opportunity across not just South Africa, but across the continent in terms of what we can do to leapfrog the traditional financial services rails and really enable the fintech ecosystem to drive that financial inclusion. And all that is actually done through the digital solutions and the digital platforms that exist out there. Based on my background, which is pretty much what influenced my passion as well, I believe that this is the right time for us to do it. We have the capabilities, we have the platforms, we have the people, we have the skills, we have the resources, we have everything that we need to tap into that opportunity and really make this not just a dream, but a reality, like I said, within our lifetime. So, from a Vodacom business standpoint, not to belabor the point, but we've seen how we've spoken about the platforms that the ecosystems that we built as well through our partners. You mentioned Zedar Cloud, you mentioned XLink. There are quite a number of other players that we've actually brought together to create this financial services cloud offering that really enables the fintech ecosystem to really thrive. And then something else that is very, very key is that you really need trust to be able to do this, and we've definitely proven ourselves to be a trusted player in this space by processing millions of transactions daily, and creating this platform for other fintechs and financial services providers to play. So this is something that we really want to to deliver. And that's we've been very passionate and very supportive of this fintech ecosystem, not just in South Africa but across the continent as well.
Well, I'll say this on behalf of Finasa. I'll say this on behalf of the African FinTech Network. We're extremely humbled and grateful to have the support of such a large and influential group. For the awards and for the festival, and looking forward to seeing you guys in person. I know, Kevin, we missed each other the other day at the other summit, but I'm sure we'll see each other before November. Taps, any sort of closing words from you? Perhaps. If I know a lot of our audience are kind of very, very well entrenched in sort of the fintech and specifically payments world, what sort of questions would you be asking them to be asking you, if that makes any sense, right? So if they're coming to you, a CIO is coming to you, or a CEO of a payments business, or the head of payments in a bank, or whatever it may be, and they're going, right, Taps, what problem are you trying to solve for me that I don't know exists yet? What would that be?
I'd ask them to consider what tasks do they find themselves focusing on that are not core to their business, and look at that conversation. Because what I find is, as a business leader, you've got a industry you're trying to serve, you've got a client segment you're trying to service, and then there are things around servicing that client that might not necessarily be core to your value proposition to that customer. I'll talk about connectivity, for example. In a simple example where a customer I'm trying to accept payments, but I find that power cuts affect my capability to accept that payment, or perhaps connectivity is an issue for me in my area. All of a sudden, you could be selling widgets, and connectivity is now a thing that you're thinking about solving. I'd ask you to consider and share with me, what are those things in delivering your core service are you having to focus on that are not part of how you differentiate yourself or set yourself apart in your core offering? And then that's where XLink comes in, whether it's in trying to put those, let's call it gremlins or issues, into the background for you. Our earlier discussion on trust, put it in the background in a manner that you can sleep at night and not think about it as an issue, but know it's just going to happen. We would then unpack together those things and how we can bring a capability or a solution set into your world that allows you to have that, let's call it, peace of mind and that focus to deliver on your core value proposition, and differentiate in your industry and segment, so that becomes your value proposition, and we take care of everything else that should be in the background.
It's interesting, Taps. Kevin, I'm just going to kind of talk to you both, actually, just as a passing comment. I was speaking to one of our Kazitech members yesterday, and Kazitech's a program run by Finasa, and that's helping fintechs that have been founded and established within the township economy, and bring them, to try and help them sort of scale and bring them into the formal economy, introduce them to people like yourselves and schemes and what have you. And I was talking to one of our members yesterday, and he said, look, I've got this great idea. I'm building a bank, like I'm building a digital bank, and then we're going to do deposits, and we're going to do savings, and we're going to do investment, and we're going to do crypto, and we're going to do microfinance, and we're going to do POS. And it was like, whoa, listen, let's just take a step back. If you want to acquire a banking license here in South Africa, first of all, you're going to have $20 million. That's the first thing. And that's not going to get you anything other than a tick in a box. Secondly, you then need to build it, and you then need to be compliant. And then you're going to need this license and that license and that license. And when we got to the end of it, I think the message, which is, Taps, I think what you were just saying as well, was just focus on kind of what you want to do as a core business, right? All the other elements, you can either partner, you can use service providers, you can use the different types of the different parts of the ecosystem to build all that together, right? There's not necessarily a single entity that is going to go out and build, kind of, dare I say, the next Google, but I don't think they've literally solved every problem. Some of them, but not all of them. So that was kind of a passing comment for me. Was, I think that this ecosystem really and truly is that. There isn't one sort of player that I think can do everything. It's very much about partnerships. I think that's what I've learned over the years with the FinTech Association, and dealings with Kevin as well. He's probably one of the most connected people I think I've ever met. He seems to know everyone, and everyone knows him. So it's what makes the world go round. But gentlemen, listen, I just wanted to say a big thank you again, not only for your support on the events, but also for taking the time in talking to me today. I know this is the first of a couple of podcasts that we've got planned, and a couple of webinars as well, where they're going to be quite technical, and we're going to draw down into the detail. Well, guys, thank you so much. Kevin, enjoy your time in Nairobi or wherever you are in Kenya, and Tabs, great to meet you. Thanks so much for candid conversation, and I look forward to the next one.
Perfect. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Kevin.